Good morning, everybody. It's Tracy Lewin and
Mavani Smith.
how are you doing today, Merv?
Awesome, thanks, Tracy. How are you loving being back in South Africa for a while?
Well, I'm in Durban for a bit. I'll be here for a couple of weeks, and then I'll go up to Joburg, and then probably back to Dubai. But I also want to go to Zug this year. Because Zug is really in the news a lot. You know, the Swiss government is starting to take, or rather that canton is starting to take fee payments and whatever they have to pay for there in Bitcoin. So that's a huge step forward. And so I want to go on a little bit of a roadshow with my mentor. And Merv, I'm hoping you're going to come with me.
I certainly would love to do that, Tracy. I'll have to make a plan.
Yeah, we'll have to, because we need to go on this Bitcoin roadshow.
Yes.
At the moment, I just find it so exciting, and I just want to completely immerse myself in anything Bitcoin.
You and me together. You know, everybody that's seeing me these days is say, "Hi, Miss Bitcoin. What's happening in the world of Bitcoin?" Oh, it's hilarious.
That's awesome. So if we can just kick off this week, you know, all you know, this is our 10th episode of Women in Bitcoin, and we sincerely hope that we're empowering, encouraging, and enriching people. You know, there's just such a gap in the Bitcoin market for women. Women are not stepping up to the plate. There are so many that are not involved with Bitcoin as yet. So really, we just want to create awareness and you know, get as many people involved. So if you're listening, if you're a man or a woman, send this to as many people as you can. You know, we're not sexist here, even though we do talk women, but we love to have the involvement of men. Where would we be without our guys?
Down Swanee River.
Yes, absolutely. So Murph, you can kick off with this. This is your baby, and I must say I've enjoyed the last few weeks. So take it away.
Cool. Okay, so we're still on Napoleon Hill. I'm sure by now you would have figured out. I think he's absolutely amazing. He's written some fantastic books that are truly life-changing, but they're not the kind of books that you could just sit and flip through and, you know, sort of like a novel. They're things that you should really practice, look at, sort of immerse yourself in. And so I hope you guys are finding these little Mavani and Tracy interpretations of what he has to say. But I can honestly say that this man has touched my life in a huge way. So today, this is such a huge one for me. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. I want to come back to that. When defeat comes, accept it. Accept it as a signal that your plans are not sound. Rebuild those plans and set sail once more towards your coveted goal. We often find that when stuff happens in our lives and there's a roadblock and there's a bit of a disaster, or just something isn't lacquer, or isn't nice, I should say. It's very South African, sorry guys. So if something really bad happens in your life, you're kind of inclined to say, woe is me. Why did this happen to me? Why me? Why not somebody else? What have I done, etc., etc. That's not the way to look at this. So there's two ways. I always paraphrase this first piece, and I say that Napoleon Hill says, for every adversity, there's an equal, if not greater, opportunity for you, if you would look for it. And you will find that if you have a look at where you are in the situation that has turned sour for you, if you look into it, delve into it, say, instead of saying, why me? What have I done? Rather look at it and say, what can I learn from this? What can come from this? What is the seed that I can take from this to make it even better going forward? Sorry, there's a helicopter going over. So you need to look for it, though. It's not going to just pop up and say, hello, here I am. this is what you should be looking for. No, you have to seriously look at it. And it's difficult when you're in the pain of that situation. So another piece here, he says that when that defeat comes, rather just look at it as a signal from the universe, from God, from Allah, from whomever you believe in, from the source, and say, okay, this is what's happened. So how does this fit into my goals? Doesn't fit? Let me look at it. Let me reassess it. Oh, here's where I'm going wrong. Let's adjust. It says here, adjust your sails. So let's move the sails and rather get back onto the road again. So all I want to say is when disaster hits, when defeat comes, don't give up. Don't roll up into a fetal ball and say, woe is me. No. Look at it and say, you know what? This is an opportunity that has been given to me to make a greater success of whatever I'm looking for. And I promise you, every time that I've taken the time out to have a look at the disaster or the crisis that I've had in any area at any time, if I've looked, I've found an equal, if not greater benefit that I can gain from it. I've had insights. I've had ways to readjust. I've been able to see things that I never saw before. So I just want to encourage you guys that when adversity or failure comes your way, please don't look at it in a negative light. Feel the pain, feel the emotion, let it run, but stop it. And then say, okay, fine, let me look at what is the seed? Look for the seed. Ask to see the seed, and you'll find it.
Well, you know what? That's incredible move, because you know what? I just, as you were talking, I was thinking about my own life and thinking about the tough time I've had over the last few years, and what has kept me going and moving in the right direction. Yes, adjusting here and there is because things just keep getting better. They just keep getting better, and I could have probably also just crawled into a hole and sulked and got miserable, and nobody would have wanted to come near me. But that is not how you bring people into your life. People don't like negativity. People steer away from it. No one likes doom and gloom, and that's why happiness does come from within. And if you know where you're going, and if you have these speed bumps, at least what you can do, and as you say, you need to see where what these signals are, what the seeds are for an equal or greater benefit. I love this. I absolutely love this move. Thank you.
It's one of my most favorite sayings or quotes from Napoleon Hill, because you know what, Tracy, every single one of us hits a speed bump. Every single one of us go through some kind of hassle somewhere in our life. Whether it's big or small is irrelevant. The fact is we're continually growing. We have obstacles and hurdles that come our way. So, let's get away from the natural way of the entire universe is to say, oh, I'm so sad. No. You know what? As a child, when we were learning and we fell down every time we tried to get up and walk, we didn't just stay on the ground. It must have hurt. I don't remember it. It was a while ago. But some of it must have hurt. But no, we got up again. And that's what it's saying, because the benefit of having got up was that we walked. We ran, So just don't give up. Just don't give up, and just look for that sort of, it's almost like you could say a thread, a silver lining. It's there. Just look for it. Grab hold of it, and away you go. So when defeat comes, accept it as a signal that your plans are not sound. Rebuild those plans and set sail once more towards your coveted goal. Because sometimes we have ideas of how we're going to get somewhere or what we're going to do, because that's how it is. You just get up and you go and you say, this is my goal. But, we might not have the right stepping stones on the way. So this is a way of figuring it out. I love it.
Excellent. I love it too. I absolutely love it. So thank you very much for that, Merv. You know, I love these. I love this. You know what we do every week, and I get such a lot of benefit from it. So thank you very, very much. I really and sincerely hope that people listening to it get the same type of value. So yes. So let's go over to Bitcoin. Who's this
Yeah.
guy? Looks like he's the man of the moment. So last week we were saying, "Oh, sorry for you, my friend. You're no longer the boy." And it turns out that he actually still is, because we still don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. And the question is, do we really care? Is it really important? Because whoever it is, you know, they gave us a gift, and now it belongs to the people. There are so many people involved with it, and clearly it's not this guy. You know, Craig Wright, an Australian chap. You know, the cops the Australian police last year in December went to raid his house, and it's all to do about tax evasion and all that type of stuff. So, it's just not him. And there are a few people who are in the core team that have egg on their face because they supported him, you know, before seeing all the evidence.
Isn't that life? You know, you fall in love with a person or their persona, and you think that they're the best thing since sliced bread, but you don't check it out, because why would you? Because you trust the oak, and then you find out he's a farce. This is very funny, actually.
Yeah, it is. And you know what actually happened? The price went down. You know, when the price of Bitcoin went down when this was happening. And in fact, just before he announced it, the Bitcoin price shot to over $470. And then when it started, you know, when he announced this, it started a downward trend. But you know, it has recovered and looking good at the moment. So yeah, so that's why you know, the question is, how important is it for us to know? All I want to do is say thank you. This is awesome. We'll take this gift and we'll run with it, and the world will take it. It's the people's currency, and yeah, you know, thank you. Somewhere out there, there's somebody who is brilliant.
Yep.
And very generous, and we salute you, whoever you are. But it's not Craig Wright.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so this morning I actually did a bit of a search on what is going on. What is the interest of Bitcoin in the world today? And as you can see, you know, Bitcoin started in 2000, and actually the first paper was published in just to a bunch of techies, was published towards the end of 2008. And as you can see, the interest was 2009, nothing past 2010. Then all of a sudden, and by the way, this data is from Google. So this is Google's search data. Which is quite a good one, you know. And then as you can see, the interest started just to come up a little bit just past 2011, then down again, and then it started to go up 2013, and eventually, you know, 2014 started to really peak and then come down again. Because what happened is and this is really related as well to that big increase in the Bitcoin price. You know, it went to past, well, it was just under $1,200. So, you know, when people start making money like that, and, you know, so it got a little bit of attention and people started to search. And then, of course, it dropped again. You know, it was a bit of a bubble that burst, and then it dropped right down. And it's been quite a steady flow, 2015, and now it's starting to pull up in 2016. People are starting to be interested again. And you know what's fascinating for me? Look who's top of the pops. Ghana. You know, Ghana's actually in Africa, and Ghana's been was in the news recently because they've got this, they say the first Bitcoin mine. It's actually an internet solutions provider. And, you know, obviously I don't know all the ins and outs because I haven't visited them, but certainly they seem to be creating a little bit of a stir in their country. And you know, the feeling out there is that third world countries are going to grab hold of Bitcoin and the technology sooner than the rest of the world. So quite interesting that. However,
well, yeah, I think when you move on to your next couple of slides, I just want to come back to exactly what you're talking about there and my slant on why would that be? Because Africa is really grabbing at this big time.
well, also because, you know, there's not many people have got, well, most people have got phones. Okay, there's a lot of people with phones, but so many people do not have access to traditional banking systems. But traditional banks, no one seems to have bank accounts. So now with Bitcoin, you actually don't. You can actually start accepting and sending digital currency to other people, you know?
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to get to. Because,
Okay.
you know, Tracy, what you probably know, especially in South Africa. So for the people in the first world countries, maybe wouldn't understand this, but what happens in Africa is a lot of people will move away from their country and go to a more affluent place to earn a living. They then have to remit their money from there back to their families in whichever country they're in. And that's where this is coming up. Like you said, they don't have access to proper bank accounts or anything like that. So Bitcoin is the most incredible platform or vehicle for them to be able to get access to finance.
And also, I must tell you that there's lots of migrant workers in the world.
Yeah.
And these migrant workers, India, China even, you know, there's a lot of these people out there, Philippines, and, you know, they are sending their money back because they've got to send their money back to their families. And the companies like Western Union are taking a fat slice of their money, you know, just to transfer it. And that money could be going to eradicate poverty, you know, in those countries. So it's the poor people that are being affected, you know, because they work away and they don't earn like massive money, and then they still get a chunk of it taken away. So Bitcoin is you know, can definitely go a long way to alleviate poverty.
Yeah.
Interesting slide.
It is.
Okay, so what they're searching for, and the interesting thing is obviously the topics is about Bitcoin and the payment system, but a lot of interest is still in mining, and then it's in price, and then they look for Bitcoins and the Bitcoin value. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin wallets and buying Bitcoin. But the top of the pops is still the mining of Bitcoin, because many people realize that, or sort of think to yourself, how can I get into Bitcoin? And the first thing they look at is how, you know, firstly, what, you know, they need to know what Bitcoin is, but they look at Bitcoin mining because somewhere along the line, they've heard people talk about mining and you can do it from your computer. So, you know, and also the other thing is on the Bitcoin mining side, particularly on the cloud mining, this is where many scams are coming out. You know, companies that are asking for, you know, you go in and you buy contracts and you for X amount or whatever, and then you get a return on that. And the interesting thing is we always fall for this. We fell for this hook, line, and sinker, put in a few $100, and then it takes you a year to get your money back, and sometimes more. So we've been there, done it, bought the t-shirt. Merv has disappeared. So I'm sure she's going to come back. I'm going to just continue. Merv, just butt in whenever you can. So what impacts the price? I think this is quite an important slide. It's really about supply and demand. You know, what's actually happening is every single day, one of Coinbase, these are numbers from Coinbase, they say that between 2,500 to 5,000, and some days even 10,000 wallets are being opened every single day. Now, this is actually quite an interesting stat. It means that more and more people are wanting to get involved with Bitcoin and have their wallet. Now, you know, there's no restriction to how many wallets you have, so that the numbers are a little bit skewed in terms of the world, but it's quite an interesting one. And in terms of the whole supply and demand side of things. What would have happened if Craig Wright was the real Satoshi and he had dumped all his Bitcoin into the market? Well, it could have been a bit of an oversupply, but probably we would have got over that and people would have been buying like crazy. And then the other side, on the demand side as well, there was a global company called Triple M. It's a gifting company, and they were offering 100% return on Bitcoin every month. It's since folded, but they were, and in fact, they were blamed for some of the spike in the price towards the end of 2015. Merv, are you there? Okay, then the next thing is banking blockades. Banking blockades actually means when, let's say, MasterCard and Visa refuse to support various websites. So you would go the Bitcoin route to pay for your services or goods. And then fiat currency crisis. Fiat currency crisis is, and a good example is Greece, because the Greek country, well, obviously the country, they went through some crisis with their currency, and there was not much fiat currency around. So, for instance, you'd go to an ATM, you were also restricted to get either 60 euros a day or a week. I can't remember whether it was a day or a week, but every time you went to the ATM, that's all you could get. And
it wasn't that.
Pardon, Merv?
It wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago at all. I'm pleased to hear you back. I know you went off for a little bit. So anyway, welcome back, Merv.
Yeah.
So
the wonders of Africa. The wonders of Africa and no electricity.
Oh no, Merv. Crazy. Okay, so while we're not going to talk about the electricity crisis. Let's talk about the currency crisis. So what happened is many ATMs started to pop up in Greece, and Bitcoin ATMs, and that's what people did. They moved their money into Bitcoin. So the next one is market manipulation, and that's when, for an example, there was an exchange, the largest exchange, which is no longer because it collapsed. It was called Mt. Gox, and what Mt. Gox did is the owner, they started to push the price higher, bid the price higher, and that's what pushed the price past $1,000. And obviously, then they collapsed, and many people lost money. So that was a little bit of a blimp, in the Bitcoin history. But it's what happened. And now there's not going to be, if anybody's trying to do that now, it definitely would have a much lower effect because there are more and more of these exchanges opening up. Then price oddities are all about these exchanges, or it's almost like a Bitcoin eBay. So like, for instance, local Bitcoins, it's people who are just normal buyers and sellers go onto that platform. And I actually saw yesterday, the price is sitting at the moment for Bitcoin is hovering around $460. And it's probably around under 7,000 Rand. But there are people selling now, I saw yesterday, for 8,500 Rand. Okay, so that's quite a big jump, but what it does tell you is the person who holds the Bitcoin is king. Well, in our case, queen. So that's exactly what it is. The person who holds it has the power. And if you want it, you will pay you will pay whatever, because you may have a long-term view of where this is going, and if you're watching the price all the time, it's going to drive you nuts if you're somebody who has got a long-term vision. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are the impacts on price. Any comments from your side, Merv? Okay, look, Merv has got an electricity crisis, so clearly she has. So let me go on. I just want to explain about bull and bear markets. Some people, you just don't understand these terms. And it's actually such an interesting one. So the use of bull and bear is to describe the markets comes from the way the animals attack their opponents. So when a bull wants to attack you, it thrusts its horns up into the air, and the bear swipes its paws down. And yeah, so that I thought that's actually quite amazing. These actions are metaphors for the movement of a market. So if the trend is up, it's a bull market. Last week, when the price went soaring up to $470, it was a bull market. And it was a very, very exciting market. And you know what? When it's a bear market, just buy, buy, buy. And that's what I would, you know, that's what I'm doing. So I think it's pretty exciting. You know, Merv, I can hear you again. Do you want to make a comment on any of these? Merv? Okay, Merv can't hear me, but I know she's on the line. I can hear it. Okay, so like I said, you know, I am taking the view that I need to buy now. You know, when I got into this game, Bitcoin was about $230, and that was only last year. Look at what has happened in a few short months. And I believe that this price, because now what's happening is the market seems to be holding this a bit. It's holding it. And, you know, in fact, what they were saying is 450 seemed to be that threshold that we could not get through. And now we've got through that 450 threshold. Now we're looking, you know, what is the next one? Is that next one going to be 470? Is it going to be 500? But, you know, we know that there are things that are changing in the market. You know, there's more media, mainstream media, that are getting involved. The smart money is moving. The institutions, the large companies, the countries are throwing huge amounts of money behind blockchain technology. There is so much happening, and every single week there are new articles about new companies springing up across various industries. Come on, people, we have got to get involved here. If you don't get involved, you'll be kicking yourself you know, this time next year, because you'll say, oh my goodness, you know, Tracy told me about this when the price was only $457. You know, I should have bought then. Don't be should have, would have, be a could have, be a must, be a someone who actually makes a decision and buys. Merv? Merv, can you hear me? Okay, so that's really what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Any comments from your side?
Tracy, there's never a time other than today. There's always a good time to plant a tree today, you know, start today. And the price a little bit down, a little bit short is definitely going up. You can see by the graph. And everybody is very, very bullish about Bitcoin price. I'm the present.
Awesome. So we agree on that point for sure. We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Now's the time to buy. There's no time like the present. And just really get started. You know, you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin, but just get started. Just get going. It's just so important. Yeah. So if you are waiting for a sign, this is it. This is it. Bitcoin is your sign. And if you want to get out of the dwang or wherever you are, whether it's in your life that you're struggling, you know, if you're locked into a relationship that you feel you're struggling to get out of because you're dependent on that person, strike for independence, you know. Start small. Just get going. Start putting money into Bitcoin. The other thing about Bitcoin is that, you know, you can have a wallet and nobody needs to know about it. Just make sure, you know, there's also, make sure you don't lose your password. Make sure somebody knows that you are putting some money into Bitcoin, and where it is, because, you know, you don't want to pop off and then there's a whole lot of money sitting in a Bitcoin account that no one can use or your family can't use. So think about all those things, but really, Bitcoin is certainly my sign. And I know it's yours too.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that you just said is, you know, there are a lot of people that are needing to sort of not break away necessarily from the relationship or a relationship, but they need to get some kind of independence. I have a friend who was very good at saving a little bit of money here and a little bit of money there, and after a period of time she would be able to go back to the UK to visit her daughter, etc. But what's been happening lately is that the little bits of money she's been saving, her husband has been taking to cover costs that he hasn't been able to manage. So, you know, she's now serious position because she has absolutely no independence. Should something happen, what is she to do? Where if it were in Bitcoin, she would be safe. He would have no access to that whatsoever. So, you know, there are various applications for Bitcoin in a woman's life. You know, we just don't know what all the situations are that you could possibly be in. All we're saying is that this definitely is a viable option for you, and that can take you through into a very secure financial future.
You know, Merv, the other thing is I've just become a grandmother of my third little baby, and I'm actually putting, under my daughter's name, I'm putting some Bitcoin in for her, and equal amounts for each child, 3 children. And you know what? That can actually sit there for years. It can sit there for years. So at the moment, it may be, I don't know, $500 or $100 or whatever the case is, whatever you can afford, because you can always top these things up. And just imagine in 10 years' time or in 15 years' time, when you need money, you know, you just look at your Bitcoin wallet. Exactly. And you could have thousands, you could have millions. Who knows? Who just knows where this is going to? So, you know, children are our future, and Bitcoin is certainly our future, and I love it.
Me too. Me too.
Well, that's it for this week. So we had a little bit of a technical problem, or was it an electricity problem on your side? So I kept on talking, Merv. So you know, let's just get this episode out and get the people educated and informed, and we'll chat again next week.
Yes, cheerio, listeners or viewers. Lovely to have you here. Come back next week.
Yes, come back next week. Cheerio then. Bye.
Ciao, Tracy. Bye.